Welcome to the Mental Knot. I'm Shelley Netco, sitting in for Scott Freymuller, who is joining us remotely. And today we have a guest, Kristin Merwin, and we are going to be talking about children. Scott, can you hear us now?
I can, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. Hey, thanks for coming in. We really appreciate it. I'm excited for this segment.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I just want to read a little intro for Kristin because I couldn't memorize it. It was too much information. So Kristin is the founder of Magic Inside, which is, she offers powerful growth mindset tools and a brand new 7 Magic Mindset course for children. She's a certified kids mindset guide, conscious parenting coach, a mother of 4, and she aptly refers to her family as the Merwin Zoo, which I enjoy. She shares encouragement and resources for moms, which my 90s Shelley self would really have loved. And she's offering kids resiliency tools that they'll need to create the future they dream of. So that's all about Kristin.
That's it.
That's it. So you and I,
impressive.
It is impressive.
Thank
You and I started, Kristin was one of my first clients about 5.5 years ago.
Yes.
And that's when we started our journey together.
I was just starting my journey as a mom of teenagers.
A mom of teenagers, that's right. And that's what brought you to my door.
The terror?
The terror. Yes, the look of terror and the fear. You were even afraid to come and see me.
I think if I remember, I was hoping maybe a car would hit me.
Yeah, you
or
told me that.
Anything on the way there, that would be
You
easier.
were wishing you would be hit by a vehicle so you wouldn't have to talk to me.
You know.
Which is
Less pain.
sad but funny at the same time, which is a lot like parenting a teenager.
Little did I know.
Little did you know.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, how old are the kids?
So now I have 2 girls that are 20 and 18, and
Okay.
2 boys that are 15 and 12.
Okay. All right. Which is a whole thing in itself.
A whole other.
A whole other thing.
Yes.
So talk to me about what started you on the coaching path, because when you and I met, you had already taken a course or 2 in
Right.
children's life coaching.
So I took the life coaching curriculum just as a way, kind of a lifesaver for myself. I felt like I was drowning in what I thought was going to be a train wreck with teenagers. I had just heard all the horror
All
stories.
the things you hear that are partially true.
Partially true.
Actually true. Yes.
You forget there's grace in it.
Yes.
You forget. Yeah. So I took that. Also, I was struggling with my own anxiety and depression. And this email came up about a coaching institute offering life coaching certification. So I did it never imagining that I would actually coach. And then once I took that curriculum, I realized everything starts in childhood. So even though we're seeing things manifest as adults, we think it's, something recent, something in our, recent journey. It's actually almost always stemming from something in our childhood.
Scott and I just talked about this.
Okay. So yes.
That is so powerful. And you know what's funny too is what you just said I always thought was BS. I'm like, nah, that's just like something people say, but it's so true.
Right.
And you can only get there, when you really, really start being self-aware and admitting what you're all, you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
That's huge. That's a big deal. People, I always thought that was BS. When you said that, I'm like, oh my God, everybody knows.
The secret's out.
The secret's out.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. Now from a professional.
Yeah. So just really quick, is Shelley and I were just talking, and this, helps your point too, is a lot of the stuff that I was struggling with is really truly about childhood. It's not, we talked about it being about a person and it's
Right.
it always ends up being about you. It's not about a situation or person. It's always about you. It's always about your own shit. So,
Completely. Whatever
anyway,
limited
thanks
beliefs.
for that. That was amazing. Yeah. It's so impactful when you realize that.
And what comes up, it's just that trigger that sends you back and then lets you know what that alarm is that you need to take
Exactly.
care of and clean up.
Right. Which is why I wanted to do the kids certification, because I realized if I could be most impactful, it would probably be reaching my kids before I've done all the damage.
Because you're the only person who can inflict damage on your children.
You know
not
what I mean.
Society, not friends.
You know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I knew to give them, the tools that they need, the resiliency that they need. I wanted to start yesterday.
Right.
So I did that, and I actually ran one of my children through it, through the whole course, and I couldn't believe how powerful it was. I mean, night and day, just with relationships, with limited beliefs that I didn't even realize he was hanging on to. That's when I knew that this was something really powerful.
And are we talking about the conscious parenting from Dr. Shafali now, or something that you done, the previous one?
This was the children's coaching certification that I did after the one that I did for adults.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's, once I got through it, I realized this, I want to actually take my kids like through the program as if they were a client.
How did they feel about that?
Well, they were young enough, so
They
I
believed
could
you?
never do it now. They were young enough. That's the thing, you know, working with children. They don't have all of those limited beliefs. They don't have all of the world's programming. And they really look at us like, is this okay? Is this cool? Is this?
Sure.
And if it's something you start early and you're like, listen, you know, whether you can do this or not is in your mind.
Right.
So do you want some tools? And you give them some direction. And yes, I mean, both of them did amazing.
Right. And depending on the age too, there's that age when kids just stop believing parents.
Completely. And we hadn't gotten there.
And we're the devil. You weren't there yet.
We weren't there yet.
Okay.
Now I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah. No, you know.
And I know a few of the stories, so I know what you're intimating.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you care to elaborate?
Well, which one would you like?
I don't know, just something that would give us some insight as to just a challenge that you've had that would give us an idea of how you know that some of the tools you've learned actually works.
I mean, truly, like the most powerful, life-changing tools that I have are the ones that I used with myself on how, in the conscious parenting, when I realized that it was myself projecting onto my kids and changed the way I was parenting, changed their reactions. And
Yes.
but with my own children, putting them through the program, I helped him realize too about relationships and how what he is looking for, he's going to find more of. So
I like that.
if you're a child who thinks that no one likes you, for instance, and you go around all day with this in the back of your head, no one likes me, I feel rejected, you will look all day long for every idea and instance that backs that belief up.
Right. You will never be disappointed in
Never.
finding it.
And all of these...
You know, it's funny. Sorry to interrupt,
No.
but what you're saying is huge.
It's powerful.
Like what you just said that is such a big point. You manifest it.
Totally.
Like your thoughts are so powerful, and what you're saying. I mean, I know that you're working with kids, and I love that, right? Like our whole purpose of the show is to maybe fix us so we don't screw up our kids, and you're one step ahead, right?
Character.
But what you're saying is so amazing. Like what, you know, your thoughts and what you think is what you project, right? Like if you think from your heart and you care about people, then you project that energy. Like there's actually measured scientific energy that you project. You change your whole vibration, like no
Absolutely.
BS. And that's cool.
Right.
That's really cool what you're doing. And you know, I interrupted because of that. What your point was is you know, your thoughts are everything. That's the most powerful thing we have is our mind. And
Right.
and yeah, I mean that's everything. You know, how our kids think, and that it's huge, especially when they're in high school and all that kind of stuff, like you're saying.
Right.
So cool.
And I
I'm
think
so impressed.
what's so valuable about this is that I think so many parents get caught up in trying to tell their children what to think
Right.
and not allowing them to be and become themselves and be a free thinker.
Right.
Which is the most beautiful part of life.
And we need them right now
And we need them right now.
more than ever.
Right. So then when we do that, then we stifle that creativity. We stifle that free thinking process, and we narrow their minds.
Completely. I love to turn it into a question. So instead of telling my kids or even one of my students something, I'll give them an experiment. I'll ask them a question, and I'll even do an abstract. Hey, if you're thinking about a red car, notice how many red cars you see today. You know, like little things
wow.
like that. If they're not, if I can tell they're not
totally
really
right.
buying it,
Right.
I'll be like, okay, try this. And then they're like, okay, this is real. And kids are old enough. I mean, they're so aware of more than what we ever realize. So talking to them about neural pathways and the way the brain works, they get it, you know. You can put it into a kid-friendly lesson, and they can learn it that early.
Which is what you've done,
Yes.
which is incredible.
Thank you.
And you've
I
been
love
working
it.
on this since before I met you,
I was creating the books.
the books.
Yes. So I was doing the I am affirmations
Right.
with their photo sessions.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we have a little video on the books. I think we sent that
Video?
in, maybe.
Loved. I am loved. I am brave tomorrow. Ah!
So powerful,
So
you.
cool.
so powerful.
Thanks.
Because,
You know what's amazing is
Yeah, go
seeing you both sitting there, like the motherhood. That's unfathomable to me. Like the kids that you've had and the impact that you're making, and you know, Shelly, you have 8 grandkids now, right? Charlie's the newest one, and when you guys talk about just children and the things you say, it's so much more impactful. You know what I'm saying? Just from that experience and that the effort that you put into those books and the message that you put out, that's a big deal. That's huge.
Thank you. I love it. Shelly has impacted my life so much. Don't start that.
Mine too.
Yes.
Don't cry, man. That's part of the deal.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
awesome.
I know.
I actually got
I'll-
teary-eyed. I actually got teary-eyed when you were doing those. When I was reading those books, I'm like, God, that's so massive. Like, how could you? There's nothing more important than that, right? Like, our kids are so
Right.
important and so amazing. But then to make them more amazing or help them be more amazing and realize like what they're really all about without putting bullshit in their head,
Totally.
man, that's a huge thing. You know?
yeah,
Shit, I'm 51 and I still haven't figured that out. And you're teaching kids. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this is all about. Like, that's what this show's about. That's what the foundation is about. It's about correcting the wrongs, righting the wrongs, and being light and not dark, you know, and doing those things.
Right.
yes.
I read this thing. You said something about, you know, your thoughts manifestations. Like, you think about a red car and you see a whole bunch of red cars. I was reading this book, believe it or not the whole book, but part of it. And it was about how, you know, intuition is so impactful. Like, if you ask a question and then you go out in the world, like things answer you, and, you know, whatever you believe or don't believe, but, you know, your mind is incredibly powerful and your intuition is massive. We actually did a post on that recently, but that's a big deal, man. Your brain is everything. Like, how you think about the world and about yourself it's everything. It's so impactful. So,
And
once
it's
again, you
it's
guys
also it's stepping out of that ego, which kids aren't so tied to it. You know, as adults we
Right.
are, and we shut that intuition down because we believe it's incorrect. You know, we have that self-doubt, self-judgment, and kids are innocent, and they don't seem to have that so much. You know, depending on where they are or what we have, as parents have told them or conditioned them to believe, and that I think
Right.
that's all the difference.
Well, and not just parents. I mean, I think the world has
Yes.
such a huge programming, even culturally. I mean, the kids don't come into the world thinking, "Oh, I'm overweight.
Right.
I'm not good enough. You know, nobody likes me." No, that comes with lots
I'm
of
stupid,
Right.
all of
No,
it.
they come knowing
program that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to
Absolutely.
program that. And
Yeah.
that comes even with the best, most amazing parents. Kids are still going to live in the world.
Right, which is
Yep.
far more difficult to deal with now than, you know, decades ago, even 3 years ago before
Right.
pandemic times.
Right.
So, and I know you've talked about some of the challenges that you've seen in the schools as far as post-pandemic. So I wanted to touch on that too, just to give some people some enlightenment.
There's a lot of kids dealing with record high anxiety. I mean, the Surgeon General's report came out in January saying that we are in what he calls a mental health crisis for our youth. Depression has skyrocketed. I'm hearing some parents say, you know, what does my kid have to be anxious about or be depressed about, or, you know, but you know, I didn't feel like that when I was a kid, and, you know, they have everything they need. I hear that all the time.
Wow.
But they're comparing apples to oranges.
Absolutely.
I mean, our kids we've never lived in a more over-connected society. So at the touch of their fingers, they are connected with hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
Right.
If there's not supervision.
Too much, yes.
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 And so they feel all of that.
Right.
And they are oftentimes put into situations that they don't have coping skills for.
Right. And their parents are anxious because anxiety is an all-time high for adults right now, too.
Right.
So then that's being projected and they pick that up. I mean, you can't not as a child,
Totally.
right? So it's a completely different environment.
Headlines.
Right.
Yeah. Are we going back to school? Are we not going back to school?
Right.
We'll do modified. Let's stay home. Are you going to get your grandparents sick? You know, all of
All of it.
everything.
Right. So can you give us an idea of what your courses do as far as if you have someone come to you, a student, and they have anxiety or they're dealing with something. So what would be a typical example, or just kind of walk us through that?
Okay. So when I started the one-on-one coaching last summer, I was trying to teach from an online or a curriculum that I was certified in that was for in-person sessions. Well, last summer, there was no in-person anything, and I was trying to teach from that, and I realized about 4 or 5 months in, I could do my own, and I could allow the parent to customize exactly what they wanted to work on instead of trying to teach too much in a short amount of time. So I created what's called 7 magic mindsets, and it has the 7 mindsets that I feel a child would need to create the future, the life that they want. And the parent can look over it. We do a 15, 20-minute call. They choose which one is best for their child, depending on what they're dealing with. And then we work for 4 weeks together on that specific skill.
Incredible. Is there an age limit on that, or how does that work?
I've coached as young as 6, and the 7 magic mindsets is up to 12.
I love that.
The Hey Future Me is a teen course, which is
Nice.
basically the same mindsets, just written for teens.
Right, right. And then Scott, you might be interested. Kristin, or you and I have talked about meditation a lot, and I know that part of what you developed is meditation for children as well, correct?
Each week has its own meditation.
It's incredible.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and to learn those skills and just have those tools as a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever it is, to not have to be 50, 40,
Right.
50 years old and try to figure out how to get quiet with yourself and learn something. It's incredible.
Totally.
It's like riding a bike at 5 versus trying to learn to ride a bike at 50, right?
And the kids I work with are amazing. I mean, they're kids who are just getting really what I see as the leadership skills, the resiliency skills that they need. And we hone in right on where they're at with what they want to work on. And they look to us as parents and adults. Is this cool? Like, is this cool? Is this something, that I want to learn about? And when they see us excited about it and saying, hey, like, you don't have to struggle with this. There is tools. There is a way out of this. I think it changes the game.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you see confidence go up.
I've seen some pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, like you're always going to be okay, and that's the
Right.
thing that people always forget. Even us as adults, and I think what you're doing with the kids is so massive, but we impact our children so much by our own behavior and setting the example that that woe is me, or that victim mentality, or not taking responsibility that some of us have done or do or whatever. That impacts our kids in a big, big way, and they mimic those behaviors and that thought.
Right.
And we talked about the power of just thought and the power of emotion. Emotions are contagious.
Yeah.
If you're always stressed out, freaked out, and whatever, sometimes I do see that some of my son's friends, their parents are like, oh yeah, my daughter or my son's always, they have anxiety or whatever, and I'm like, well, yeah, because you project it. Like, you freak out over where you park in the parking lot. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
And I don't ever say that, but
Right.
obviously, right, if you Monday night quarterback it, you're like, wow, well, a lot of that is learned. Like, that shit doesn't come from, you know what I mean? Like, You have to
Right.
learn that from your environment. And that's one of those really hard things too, to realize, is that, we have to be truthful with ourselves and self-aware enough to be like, okay, where's this coming from? Is it coming from me? Do I need to make some changes to help my child be better? And, that's a big deal. So
Right.
once again, what you're saying is what we all need to hear, not just kids.
Absolutely.
And it's
Maybe we
never
should all
too
read
late.
your book and take your class.
Yeah.
You should open it up to all ages,
Come on in.
Have the
Shelly made a comment about 50 or 51, and then she's talking about me, just so you know. No, it's true.
I didn't say 60.
It's super true.
Yeah.
And
We need the 50-year-old
we're
toddler
joking.
mode.
We laugh and we're joking, but this is so serious and so massive.
It is.
Such a big, big deal that, the mental health aspect of our society has been overlooked for so long. And,
Yeah.
we're just starting out. I mean, we're just scratching the surface on all the things that we can help and fix. And it's amazing and inspiring to see so many people like yourself out there doing such wonderful things, especially for the kids and stuff. I mean, that's a big, big thing. So, man, seeing you guys sit up there and talk about
It's
this,
remarkable.
it's huge. Yeah, it's really cool.
So I have a question. Have you
So
seen?
continue on. I'll shut up.
No, you're
No,
good.
thank
You're
you.
good.
Thank you.
Have you seen changes in parents? Because I can't help but think that as their kids go through your program, that some of that has to absorb.
I think that I have definitely been able to give parents another perspective, another lens on how they're seeing their child. So I've seen that over and over where it's coming off as a behavior problem when underneath there's some perfectionism or there's some
Pressures.
anxiety, pressures. And so they are trying to, treat or discipline the behavior.
Right.
And then once I start working with their child, I do connect once a week and just give them an update and allow them to see, this is going a little bit deeper than what you're seeing on the outside.
It's funny. I was talking with my daughter Angie yesterday, and she's highly involved in competitive hockey with her two boys. And so they're off tomorrow to head to Nashville for a tournament. And as you know, she has a child education background, I guess,
Right.
psychology. And she said that she's seen really fascinating, just like a perspective as far as the pressure that these kids are under to perform. But it's, of course, put on them by parents.
Right.
And the coach is being the coach, but it's put on them by the parents. And then just what comes out as far as, I don't know, I'm going to say difficult behaviors between spouses and just everything that's put on this poor child who just wants to go out and skate and score a goal.
Right.
And what that does systemically. And it's
Yes.
fascinating. So what you just described is exactly what is playing out.
I've been on the fields too. I
Yes, you
know.
have.
I've got all that. Yes.
Those
You should
football
see me
players.
biting my hand
Yes.
while they're yelling and
Yes.
screaming. And
Yes.
I have said to my children as we're walking to the car, this behavior isn't normal, right?
Right.
And they're like, I know, Mom. I'm
Yes.
like, oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. What he did was not, never mind.
Yeah. We'll wait till
Just
we
pull that back in.
get to the car and then I'll tell you what I really think.
Right.
That's so funny.
It's absolutely true. Well, and Scott, I know you have the history with bike riding, and you talked about what that meant with your dad and the pressure and everything, and how that
Yeah,
changed it for you.
It's that same thing. Not only do you want to perform for yourself, but you want to perform and make the people around you proud, and that support group is massive, especially, we talk about soccer or baseball or football or whatever. And I think the concepts are the same with any sport, but the encouragement and the support for your child or even for yourself that's a big thing. And that's a whole nother mental health perspective too. And, we had Destry Abbott on there and Scott Tenenbaum, and those are both, super high level professional athletes in, their own prospective sports, but that mental health aspect and knowing how to support a young athlete or, a young person in any type of sport or any type of performance, whether it be, theater or baseball or football or motorcycles or whatever, that's a big thing. And the expectations of themselves is a big thing too. And just knowing that they have like an unconditional approval and an unconditional love, it takes a huge amount of pressure off them. And then there's that balance, right? They have to want it. Like if you want to be great, that has to come from within. Somebody can't make you great.
Right.
And I think that's a totally different perspective too. Like you said, there's so much different stimulus nowadays than there was before. You know, there's so much more information out there and so much more impact than we had when we were kids. You know, that's a big deal. It's like knowing how to support a child, especially on the field, you know, as we say, it is a big thing. Because, yeah, you can definitely add a whole bunch of shit just from your own stuff, right? And the other thing, too, is realizing and being truthful with yourself. Like, if you've never competed as an athlete, your perspective is much different in supporting, you know, your child or, you know, anyone else in your life that's important to you. You know, when you haven't competed, you have a different perspective. And it's important to realize that, too, you know, to get some insights on, hey, what's it like to compete? What's it like to, you know, be on a line of football and waiting to get smashed by a whole bunch of people, or, you know, volleyball, or in the theater when you're standing in front of a room full of people that are staring at you. You know what I mean? Like, what is that like? Like, can you explain that to me and help me understand what my child's going through? Those types of things are great. You know, those insightful questions and information is critical. But yeah, it's really cool to watch the different approaches of parents, you know, like at the motorcycle track. I was always, my son, I told Shelly the story, and he was winning the series, and he looked up at me, he's on the starting line, he's like, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, shit, what do I do? I said, okay, well, if you don't want to do it, then let's not do it. Like, we're doing this for fun. You know what I mean? Like, life should be fun. It should be fun. It shouldn't be a job, you know? So, anyway, I think once the fun is gone out of a sport or a, you know, something that you love, then it's not something you love anymore. You know what I'm saying? It has to be fun.
Yeah.
It still has to be enjoyable. Yeah.
Yes. It reminds me of my daughter competing in gymnastics, and gymnastics, I feel like, is a whole other level of sport with the competitions and the demands and all of it. And I remember one night she was really having a hard time after a long practice. And I just said, you know, you are more than a gymnast. So that's you know, you are who you are. You are not a gymnast. That is not your title. That's not your label. And I just encourage parents, whatever sport their kids are doing, to remember to keep some perspective.
Right. And keep checking in with them too.
Right.
Right. Seeing changes.
Do you ladies think that, I mean, like when we talk about baseball or gymnastics or volleyball, like there's all these club teams, and the level to compete in a sport now, I mean, you have to dedicate your life to it, pretty much, parents and the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be a competitive gymnast,
pretty much.
That's a commitment. Like, that's a no screw around deal. Or volleyball, you know, an ex of mine had a daughter in volleyball, and that's what she did. They traveled the freaking country. Right. It was insane, you know, club volleyball. Not insane. I mean, it's a great thing, don't get me wrong, but there also has to be a balance in life too. You know, you can't make it a job. You know what I'm saying? I think you lose the whole concept of fun and, you know, sportsmanship and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just see us pushing it to a whole nother level. And I've even heard like some athletes in baseball, some young athletes in baseball, you know, they burn out before they even get a shot at the majors because, you know, like their arms are fried after pitching so much. And you know what I'm saying? It's almost like we burn them out before they even get a shot. Sure. Having a career at it, you know, or living a life.
Yeah, they're completely
I
disconnected
didn't know what your
from the
perspective
joy.
is on that. Maybe that's something mental health wise we should look at.
Yes.
You know, like that balance.
Well, Shelley had a great point to just keep checking in. I really think that that's the key, is to not let yourself get so over, you know, immersed in the world of whatever sport it is, and check in with yourself. Why is it so important to me? Right. Why is it so important that my child is doing this? And start some introspection and make sure that huge joy is your child's and not your own.
And seeing them be happy doing it.
Exactly.
Right. Versus like, oh, we won, and then letting everybody know and posting everything and, you know, posting your trophies or whatever it is, you know, just making sure that it's the process. It's not just the outcome.
Check in.
Yes.
Yes.
We miss that, right?
With both. I love that you are reminding, you know, parents to check in with their kids. And on the flip side, I would say checking in with themselves is
with yourself.
Just as important. And that one is a little bit harder. People oftentimes don't want to do that.
Right. Well, it's a lot easier if it's not us.
I understand. I'm speaking from personal experience.
So am I. I remember when
it's easy to point the finger, right?
Right. No, right here. I remember when I told you. I remember when I told you about. We were talking about parenting at one point. I can't remember who we were talking about. We're sitting on your sofa and drinking coffee and crying, and you asked me a question, and like, when did I first start this, the journey of learning to parenting a different way than what I knew and that kind of thing. And it was the Dr. Sal Severe's book, How to Behave So Your Children Will.
You gave me that book.
I gave you the book, and
Yes.
I got it from my therapist.
Okay.
And I started the book, and I read like the first chapter, and I literally threw it in the garbage because it was about me. And I thought, oh, I'm going to learn this, whatever it is,
Fix
and
them.
I'm going to fix my kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody should read the book, Scott, just for a good laugh.
So good.
It's
Okay.
pretty funny.
right,
But so then after like, I don't know, a couple hours, I went and got it out of the garbage, and I was like, all right, okay, he's right. I am a screamer. I need to stop being a screamer. But I literally had to sit there and get super uncomfortable with myself.
Oh, I know.
And then get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And read this book and learn reparenting. And that's what
Yes.
started the process. And I know things started the process for you as well.
Right.
And we've talked about that. But what I'm so proud of you about is where you started, which was photography and the books and
Right.
Magic Inside. And it has grown so much. And I know you have an incredibly big vision. I'd love to hear about that.
Well, I have a creative team working with me right now. They are going to help me get the entire curriculum launched online. So I wouldn't even have to be offering the one-on-one coaching. It would be they would choose the mindset, and then each week would unlock that lesson with video printables. It would be kind of like having me in their back pocket for the month. So that's
Amazing.
the plan. That means that I can reach countless kids and give scholarships and
Wow.
go far beyond what I'm able to do
Wow.
with my current calendar.
And you should reach countless kids. Absolutely.
Thank you. I
Yes.
love it. I have
So
How are
worthy.
you raising funds to do that? What's your platform to raise funds for that?
I'm not raising funds. It has been my back pocket. That's how passionate I am about this.
You know, Shelley, this is something that we could do at the foundation is help that too. You know, we always talk about fundraisers and things, and
Yes.
this would be a really great platform for
Absolutely.
a fundraiser too.
Absolutely.
Super, super cool and something to believe in and get behind
Thank you.
and help support. And that's what the foundation's all about.
I
So
love it.
maybe we talk about that offline, but what you're doing is amazing. And and no BS. That's something, I mean, you know, you call it a kid's book, but I mean, we should all be reading that.
Well,
Going through
it's
the
for the
coaching, you know?
parents, and the parents actually give input on
Yeah.
some of the books. I've seen them; they're
Yep.
remarkable. And to have the words
it.
that a parent writes about their child next to these beautiful pictures, and their child has no idea that they feel that way, because sometimes families just don't communicate in
Right.
such a way that some other families do. Some families don't hug.
Right.
You know, we talked with Scott, I think, about that. Scott. Not you, Scott, but you know, just some families are that way. You know, they're more distant, more cold, more reserved, and children don't understand that, you know, they are loved despite not, you know, my friends got hugs. I don't understand why I'm not getting hugs from my parents. And there's
Right.
just a misinterpretation. And no matter what, if you are a child and you feel unseen and unheard in some way, it doesn't have to be anything grandiose, but if it's even the smallest glimmer of that, you can carry that with you. So even seeing those words in a book just
Right.
can be such a game changer. It's incredible.
Right. And what the moon looked like on the night they were born.
Yes.
From the city that they're born. And
Yes.
I have them take a spirit animal quiz. Then I double expose their face with the spirit
yes.
animal.
Yes.
All of it. Name definition.
It's incredible.
Letters from their parents.
Yes, it's so personal and so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
That is
Yeah.
so cool.
It really, really
You know,
is.
we talk about words of affirmation, and you guys are talking about that and like love languages and things, you know. And what's your love language? All of them. You know what I mean?
Right?
Let's not bullshit each other. All of them.
All of them.
You know,
Yeah.
and your kids need all of them too. You
Sure.
know, especially those words of affirmation, the I love yous and the personal touch, give them a hug, and you know, all those things are so important. You know,
Right.
you know, acts of kindness and things like that. Like you're saying about your you know, like, hey, here's what the moon looked like when you were born, and here's, you know, your footprint, your handprint, and here's your birth certificate. Here's why this was so impactful and so important to me. And like those things are huge.
Right.
And it's what we need to practice as adults do in our own freaking relationships, you know,
Yes.
and even with ourselves, like
With
be nice
ourselves.
to yourself, like, you know, your self-talk and all those things we talked about. And
Right.
man, I'm telling you, everything you say to these kids, God, I hope it sticks, and I hope they do better than we do, right? We can all use improvement, but that's where you start right there, you know,
Yeah.
you hit the parents, but then those kids, man, they're going to need a lot of help growing up because they have a lot of stuff. Like you said, there's a lot of thirds in life that are impacting their world
Right.
that we probably don't even realize yet, right? Like, technology is only going to get better. There's going to be more information, not less.
Sure.
And that, our minds need to be able to deal with all that type of stuff and adapt and overcome and have that strong, self-worth, self-affirmation mindset. I am, like you had in your book there. That's amazing. That's so important.
We're getting really strong spirits coming into the world, and I'm trying to explain to parents, let's nurture this.
Yes. Let's
Yes.
not. Don't squelch it.
Yes. Like they're
Learn
here
to
for a
nurture it.
reason.
Yes.
They're here on
They
purpose.
came to
Right.
you for a reason. So
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank
That is
you,
so cool.
Kristen, for sharing.
Thank you for
Your
having
work
me.
is incredible. It's so inspirational.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited to see what you're going to do, which I know is great things. Can't wait to see the online courses and
Yeah.
everything. And then we'll talk offline,
we-
Scott, right?
Yeah, we want to support that. And I have
Thank you.
to say, and this is a no BS, you guys are amazing. Like, to see two successful women sitting there talking about kids and life and what's important is massive. That is it's so amazing to sit here, like, be, I guess, the third in this deal, and just watch you two, your dialogue and your compassion. And it's amazing. It's pretty badass. So thanks for coming on, Kristen, and
Thanks for
Shelly,
having
you're kicking ass for sure. So thanks for taking that lead spot there. But
Do you
it's
want
really cool
to
to watch.
want to
It's
sign
really
off,
amazing.
Scott?
You want me to, like,
Sure.
you're going to kick me off the show?
No, I want you to sign. I want you to thank everyone.
It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I
Do the
really
deal.
do. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this. And we're building a platform that we can share and hopefully change lives, if not save lives, essentially, and support organizations like Kristen's where, we can help kids and we can help adults and we can raise funds to do these things and be transparent with our goals and our mission. And man, Shelly, we have so many more people following us now, and this is such a more important movement than it ever was and what I ever thought it would be. But like I said, watching you two up there is amazing, and it's so cool to see people share what they're passionate about and help others, and that's what life's all about. It's not about us; it's about helping other people.
Right.
Yes.
And I appreciate everybody watching and just watching this content is helping other people. So thank you everybody for watching, and our new platform is amazing. Dave Pratt and his team and Rock and Robin and everybody's it's just fantastic. So I really appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate the support, and I for sure appreciate our guests. So thank you again, Kristen, for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you for having
Cheers,
me.
everybody.